Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This video show, we're talking about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Roswell, New Mexico. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, we have Teska ordering Bonnie to kill Michael, and I thought that was interesting, but I guess it's like him being Jones's heir doesn't mean anything anymore, because it's like, yeah, you might have been his heir, but Max is what's most important, because I guess it's like, right, Jones set the stage, but what they're trying to accomplish goes beyond him. It's a bigger cause than him, it's bigger than him, so Michael being the heir doesn't mean as much. I mean, it's still like a, holy crap, this is our, like, the person who gave us everything, gave us a purpose, gave us a position, gave us a direction in life. This is his son, so that warranted some special attention, but ultimately, even Bonnie realized, like, right, even she's kind of put Clyde in a position where he's starting to question Teska as well. So, right, Michael's the one kind of causing all the issues, so he needs to be removed from the equation. But in the end, it seemed like it was just a test. I guess it's like, if Bonnie did it, she did it. She probably already knew, like, she probably had an inkling, like, you didn't actually kill Eduardo. This is an actual test as well to see if you'll actually go through with it. Because Clyde's under the belief, like, Clyde 100% believed her about the Eduardo thing, but Teska, not so much, because she sees how attached to these humans that, Bonnie is, so. And obviously, you know, that all in conjunction with Max's own frustrations of what he's going through. The fact is, last episode, he hurt Liz, and now it's a situation of, I'm in this position where it's the interesting flip, where obviously in the beginning his powers were all about healing and helping someone, and now they've, you know, over the series they've become more powerful and more destructive. The implications of what he could do, the way he could, you know, he went from just straight up healing to being able to channel lightning, and now he's like shooting out blue flames, that it's like his powers went from like, oh, I can help people to heal people. Yeah, I might suffer in the end, but yeah, now it's like, oh, I have this power inside of me, which doesn't affect me, but now it affects everyone else. That it's an interesting switch for his abilities, and for him, it's that learning to control that, and Liz giving him that little, like, hey, carrying around your little partner to kind of keep you calm and focused, and so that you're not feeling alone, that you always got, you know, him being a reminder that you're not in this alone. But even then, it's like, for Max's, so much of his life, he doesn't know what Teska wants, what the lightning is. Like, Noah had said something, which obviously even I love even Bonnie knows about Noah being the sociopath that he was. It's like, right, he had no friends. He just he did stuff that no one else could and would, and he enjoyed doing it. So showing you what a psychopath he's always been. But even Bonnie doesn't have all the answers, because Teska doesn't tell her everything. But we end up finding out, because obviously we're picking up with, you know, tying this all in with Michael's situation as well. Turns out Michael's sick, and I figured last episode, I was like, it had to be like from like an Oasian like virus or something like that. And Liz and Shivani looking at the viral sample, you know, it spreads within the host, but on the DNA strands itself, it doesn't spread. And that's because it's meant to kind of be isolated to the person and not spread. And it turns out it's about Bonnie. Because I was like, oh, it has to be like him being in contact with Bonnie and Clyde. Specifically, Bonnie. It turns out her power is, I mean, I guess you've always got to have, like, in the grand scheme of things, there's always an equilibrium out there. So her equilibrium to all the powers out there is, her power is to take powers, you know? So there's always got to be that kind of natural balance to some extent, I think, and that's what she is. And it's kind of sad that her mom grew to resent her, because I think a lot of people on their planet, and even Michael, all kind of looked at their abilities as part of themselves. It kind of defined them, and having that stripped away from them, it made her mom angry because it's like, right, you took a part of what makes us special and you've taken that away. And even Michael kind of felt the same way when he found out, like, wait, I'm sick, because now he's like, oh, Bonnie did this on purpose. But Bonnie's almost like, wait, what? It's supposed to take away your powers, but no one's ever gotten sick before. Because I think it's like, I was suggesting like it might be an immune issue, where it's like, yes, it's because this virus comes along with a Oation, like if you've been on Oasis for so long, like you've built up an immunity, so the virus doesn't just attack the powers, it also attacks like you. But like if you've been on Oasis that long, but they were kids when they ended up leaving Oasis, so they never probably built up an immune system. So her virus not only takes away your powers, it also can make them sick in the process. So. And obviously for Michael and Bonnie, it's the back and forth of, she's like, oh, so everything you did was just to use me. And he's like, yeah, but you took away a part of me, you're erasing me. But for her, she feels like their powers are their real sickness. I mean, because even Jones, like, what did Jones do? He went around collecting abilities to put into every new clone of his. And I think Bonnie saw like what it was doing to her planet. She thought she could help the most people by taking away power. I mean, granted, because she probably thought like, because Jones used her to like get rid of people's abilities, which I guess almost she was kind of almost his Black Widow to some extent. I think she was just any like rivals or any dissenters, he would probably send her to like erase their abilities. And it seems like it's a permanent thing. I thought it was like a temporary thing, but it seems like it might be permanent. But there might be a way to reverse engineer the virus in her to like combat it, and you can make a cure and restore abilities. Maybe not. Or maybe it is a forever thing. We'll ultimately have to wait and see how that kind of plays out. If so, that's going to be interesting, because for Michael, he's relied on these abilities. They've been a part of him for so long, and now to kind of be without them. And especially when he feels kind of betrayed by Bonnie, because yes, it started off as an infiltration mission. He figured he could get close to her, but no, like as their bond grew, like he did legitimately mean it. He wanted to protect her. He wanted to save her because, he sees the type of person that Bonnie is. She's a lost soul just like him, so they like connected over that. And the sad thing too is, I mean, Bonnie doesn't know it. Teska, maybe Clyde, but Teska's definitely the only one, at the very least, she's the only one that knows about Alex, because they're trying to get in contact with Alex. It's like, right, and your boyfriend is sick, like, why aren't you here? But it's like, they still don't know about that, and Bonnie can't help on that front, because Teska kept so much from her. It's like, oh, it's on a need-to-know basis. But Max is getting stronger and getting some control of this power, but it's still kind of a wildfire for him. So even while he's holding Teska back, and the more he's pushing, the more it's drawing out the blue flame. Luckily, Liz and Dallas backed him up, and Liz just stabbed her in the back with a machete. I was like, oh, snap. I was like, wow, is it really going to end like that? But it's like, oh, no, Teska has way more, I guess, like, her genetics are I guess it makes sense considering the shape-shifting ability she has. I guess it almost works in that way that she could probably like shape-shift her genetics to kind of like incorporate. I mean, maybe it's just a natural part of her is like this massive like healing capability, which part of me wonders, could the shape-shifting genetic elements to her ability, like her abilities and how that works as a healing process, could that slow down any rapid degeneration of her abilities? Like, I mean, granted, it took a little while for Michael's to like finally like take away his powers, because like Bonnie kissed him a while back. It's been a while, so it probably takes a while for it to fully kick in. Maybe it takes multiple kisses to like really do it, but or maybe the longer the kiss is, like it was like a very small kiss between her and Michael, so not much of the virus is able to transmute. But Liz did say like she accelerated things, so it happened faster. And in that moment, Teska kind of like the tattoo, like her markings start showing, and I guess we finally get to see potentially her real face for the first time, I think. So, but even then, she didn't seem too concerned. But it's just more like, wow, you guys are incredible. Because I mean, once again, it's just like everyone in front of her. It's like, oh, Dallas is you're Dallas, you're Theo's son, another person, your dad, like, put his faith in these humans and blah, blah, blah. Like, you know, she hates that in Bonnie, and knowing, like, another of their kind, Theo, did the same thing, and Dallas is doing the same thing. But obviously she looks at Liz as a special case, because it's like, right, your science and your understanding, you in conjunction with Max, you could be everything. You could be the ones that change two different worlds, this world and that world. In what way they want Oasis change, what they're planning, what they want for this world, that answer's up in the air as well. But sadly, Max and Liz have their own complication, where now it's not even just triggered by anger. Any strong emotion, even love, their love for each other can trigger his powers, and he almost burns her. And it's like, he's like, we've done stuff before, and like my powers have short-circuited stuff around us, but I've never physically hurt you before. And now it's like, for him, it's so frustrating, because it's like, Liz is so hopeful that everything's going to work out, but it's like, there's no clear answer in sight about how this is all going to play out. Like, what do we do? And even Liz is like, I don't know. It's sad, because she had that conversation with Shivani early on in the episode, where Shivani was kind of saying, like, the complications between her and Allie when it came to, like, saving their daughter, and that it's like, yeah, like, when you're in pain, obviously, you kind of, and you're both in pain, and you can't really help each other, and it just ends up kind of pushing you further and further away. And even Liz is like, well, is there a cure for that? And even Shivani's like, no, I mean, maybe there isn't. Maybe it's just kind of how things are. And a little bit of that kind of creeps into their relationship, because now it's like, Liz doesn't, she's like, whatever it is, we're going to face it together. But optimism and all that aside, like, Liz doesn't have any answers to what they do, how they handle this. Max, on the other hand, does. Obviously, he wants to help out Bonnie for all that she's done in the grand scheme of things. Obviously, Teska will be coming after her. Obviously, Max, I love the whole, oh yeah, I'm going to marry her. And Bonnie's almost like, wow, like, you're going to get married at like an altar? And I'm the one in a cult? He's like, yeah, but you get it. Like, I love her, and the only way I can protect her, these powers, this is all Teska wants. If I lose them, that means I can protect Liz, and I don't have to be this weapon that Teska wants anymore. Like, we can stop her plans twofold, but I can also protect the woman I love. And so he asks Bonnie to take away his abilities. Because I guess for Max, his abilities have never really defined him. He's always wanted to be normal anyway. Obviously, it's like an inverse of like Michael. Like, Michael has always defined himself. But I love that conversation with Maria, where she suggests, because she confides in Michael, like, because he still didn't know. It's like, wait, because Liz only found out last episode, so now it's like, wait, you didn't have your ability? She's like, no, the cure took away my powers, but I might not be able to see my mom anymore and everything. But she took that as she discussed it with Liz last episode, it gave her a future. And, that the powers have defined me for so long, and then for them just to be gone, now I have an opportunity to, like, that happiness and everything else, I get to kind of enjoy life, and those other aspects of me don't get stifled just because my powers are gone. And maybe that's what Bonnie was trying to show you, that there's life beyond your powers, that there's happiness beyond that, So that's definitely going to be interesting. And obviously Liz at the very end with the the handprint disappearing from her side, and she's like, Max, what did you do? She knows immediately. It's like, right, it's not supposed to disappear that quickly, and because it did, she could probably feel those last feelings, and she could probably feel it, like the power and everything fading away. So she knows what Max did. Once again, it seems permanent, but it might end up only being temporary, because you never know, maybe, like, being on Earth, like, the virus interacts, obviously it makes them sick, so maybe, like, the virus isn't as 100%, like, maybe as it would have been Oasis. Maybe it is kind of temporary. Who knows? Because I don't see Teska letting that just kind of slip away from her. But it could be that, Max doesn't know what he's fully capable of, all that's in his clone body, and for all we, well, because I was about to say, not less Jones's plan was to make it so that his clone could never be affected by Bonnie's abilities, so it might have protection against it, but the power started waning a little bit. Maybe it's a situation that only some of his abilities are taken away. Maybe the blue flame is just so ingrained in him that it won't be able to go away. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here, but there's no way they're just going to be able to take away Max's powers and there not being an issue. I think that's going to be a major issue going forward. So we'll ultimately have to wait and see how that ends up playing out. Other elements to this episode, there's also the Kyle and Isabel thing, and you're like, ooh, and it's kind of awkward, but then Isabel's just kind of like, oh man, did I make this awkward? She's like, oh, like, you know, oh, did I ruin our friendship? In a moment she said that, it was almost like, whoa, Kyle was almost got whiplash, being almost like, wait, what? Because it's like, wait, did I just get friend-zoned? And she's just treating this as a one-off thing. We were just caught up in the moment. And it's like, yeah, like, because anything Kyle said last episode, you can interpret it as like oh yeah, we got swept up in the moment, but it didn't mean anything more than that. And for Kyle, he didn't know how to really respond to that because he hadn't really got his feelings fully across. And so it's like, no, good. It was like a one-time thing, which is like, well, 2 times for Son of Us, but still. And I like how in conjunction that is with everything between Sonia and Eduardo. Their issues, because we find out that Eduardo and his his daughter saw things differently. She saw everything he did at Deep Sky as him, you know, their family's connections to aliens and stuff and protecting it, and she felt like he was profiting off of everything alien related, and so apparently she tried to hack into Deep Sky stuff, and now she got labeled an extremist, and he was trying to protect her, but then he's also able to see, like, no, it was just me protecting my job, my career. You know, I wasn't really looking after my daughter's best interest. And so he kind of ended up giving Kyle new perspective on things when he kind of talked about the reason why things fell out the way they did. I didn't even know my own daughter was in danger because I got that letter and I was so scared to open it because I was so afraid of what she might say. I never gave her I never took the opportunity to actually hear how she feels, because it is that thing of sometimes it's the not knowing that can be worse, you know? And that kind of gave Kyle perspective, and he tells Isabel how he feels, and Isabel was completely blindsided by it because it never crossed her mind, like, wait, he's like, he's like, I'm in love with you. And she was almost like, because it's a lot to process, like, for her, because to her, it's so obvious to, I think, a lot of some other people, but to Isabel, it wasn't. And it's almost like being blindsided by that. It's like everything between her and, Anasta, she's got to figure that out. And she like, because he's like, right, just tell me that this wasn't a rebound. She's like, it wasn't. He's like, so tell me to wait and I will wait. And she's like, I can't ask you to do that. She's like, I already ruined things with another person. And she's like, I don't want to ruin things between us. I can't not have you in my life, you know? And so she doesn't want to give him expectations, because she feels like she'll come up short, just like she did with Anasta, and she doesn't want to do that with Kyle, because it's like, right, she already lost Anasta, and it's just her head spinning with everything going on. But I think, you know, because she feels it too to some extent, but I guess it's just like, she probably waved it off, but hearing how Kyle felt, you know, probably, you know. And I love that conversation he had with Eduardo. He was like, because him keeping stuff from Isabel created an iceberg between them, but he's like, despite everything, he doesn't regret it, and also he feels like his heart is finally thawing. Like, it's like he feels closer than it ever, finally saying all, because he's no longer running from his feelings. He's embraced them. He's told her how he feels, and I think he's probably not going to stop. I'm sure things are changing inside of Isabel when it comes to all this, especially with the flower and everything. She's kind of reminiscing about it a little bit. I think it's there, despite all that she said. She's scared. I think, you know, she's terrified just like he is about, you know, how this all could play out. But at the end, I think she's also a little hopeful for it. So we'll see how that ends up playing out. But I do love that, because he is the optimist, that he is the the lover amongst the Valentes, that he's also bridging the gap between Eduardo and his daughter, trying to give them a second chance, because you have that opportunity now. You know, you've been given that second chance, so kind of don't waste it. So kind of hopefully they can find some way to thaw their own respective icebergs. So along with all of this, we have Isabel also coming back to help Dallas, who ended up finding out a little bit more about his dad. They ended up finding the Bible that was in Bonnie's stash, but nothing was clear to Dallas. It's just like every time he turns, there's no actual answers. It's just more riddles and things kind of being hidden, so he doesn't really know what to do about it. So ultimately, he needs Isabel's help getting back to some memories, and they do. And, you know, sadly, his dad told him, like, right, you probably won't remember all of this, even our time together here and now, which sadly he didn't. It's like, I want you to know that deep down, I loved you and always have loved you and always will. And it turns out that the Bible has hidden messages in it, because Theo's glasses actually reveal some hidden stuff. So what the Bible is going to pertain to, I'm assuming, is going to be all related to Tesca. What that all ends up being, we'll have to wait and see. But also another interesting development is Maria's situation, because earlier on she was looking for like a secret ingredient to her mom's like soup, and then like actually when she turned back around, it got knocked off the shelf, and you're like, at first I was like, is that Maria kind of developing some, like, is that some residual or something, like something from her? But it's like, then later on, a poster for like a festival or something, I think she went to her mom with, fell off the wall too, and she's like, what if on some level my mom is still reaching out to me? So I don't know if that's like Maria like subconsciously doing that, like maybe some part of her mom is imprinted on her doing that, or what that is exactly. But you know, when people die, there's still, you know, the belief is, you know, energy and stuff. So what if that energy is Mimi's energy is still around? She hasn't completely gone, that she's still by Maria's side, pointing her in the right direction. And what that looks like, what that pertains to, because everything pointed her to Theo's tree last episode, because Theo was connected to Maria's, what was it, great-grandfather or something like that. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out, where this all ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I'm going to talk about. To the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.